A valuable resource for annotating your visualization with geographic overlays and so on is Natural Earth, this Natural Earth website, or naturalearthdata.com. It provides freely available geographic overlay databases. It, as it says here, is a volunteer effort and is free to use. It's useful to run over here to the terms of use page and see that in fact no permission is needed to use it, but you can credit them, and they suggest how to, and that's always a good thing. You can embed logos in images even if that is your desire. So going straight really to the downloads page here, let's jump into what they have to offer. They have 3 scales of data. So for very large scale maps, the it says small scale data, but this is the lower resolution, the medium resolution, and the higher resolution. Okay, and within that there are these divisions of cultural, physical, and raster. So cultural, in this case would be, for example, country boundaries, state boundaries, populated places, and so on, roads, things that people have defined. Physical would be things that are, the physical definition of the earth, coastlines, land versus ocean, rivers, lakes, and reservoirs. So you can pull down these databases and overlay them on, and import them in SeDAS, as we'll see shortly. And they're actually really good looking data. The raster category here is, so they're actually offering some, land relief and other things that can be used in various ways. I'm going to focus on just a couple of these. I have loaded our old friend here, the chlorophyll image of the Louisiana coast, and it's got no annotations. So let's start beautifying that with some of this data. So one thing that might be useful right away is a coastline. So let's go to the physical. Let's pull down the coastline. Okay, these are downloaded, and in my case, they're automatically unpacked. So, but what I can see here is a variety of formats, a README file, but we're going to be interested in this shapefile. That's what we're going to import into SeDAS. There are 2 ways to add a shapefile into a SeDAS file, and one is through this add layer. So I go to the layer manager and I simply add a layer and I add a shapefile, and I surf to that coastline in that folder, open that, click next. It actually crops it to my geometry or geography of my file, and so when I pull that in, I get this. The bad news with this way of importing is that I really don't have any control over the appearance of that coastline. In this case, for whatever reason, when I import a shapefile, the layer manager editor only lets me control these 3 parameters, and that's not very useful. So I'm going to nuke that and try an alternate method, and that is to go to the vector menu, the import sub menu, and come down to shapefile here. Go back to my coastline, pull in that shapefile, and now it actually has drawn a coastline, but it's all in white. So let's go back to my layer manager, select it, and edit it. Now we can see that I can stroke that in a different color at a different width, for example, and maybe make it slightly, I'm being deliberate here, 0.5. You know, that doesn't look very good, so we'll drop that to 2. Okay, but we have a nice high resolution coastline on our data. Okay, let's look at a couple of others. So go back to our Earth data site. We might pull in some rivers and lakes. This, in my experience, so the North American supplement are minor rivers. Those are, you know, not they're just the smaller rivers. But I find that I have to use this scale ranks and tapering. For whatever reason, this file was not importing correctly. But if I download that, I go back to my SeDAS and I import from the vector menu a shapefile, and I go back up to my rivers and lakes, which unpacked automatically, import that shapefile. So now let's edit those settings. So they're showing up in white. I'll make them some sort of blue. I'll make them a little fatter, not 21 but 20 or 2, excuse me. And there I have my rivers. Okay, and you know, depending upon your needs, those settings can be changed to enhance the picture to your heart's content. All right, so you get the idea that we now have a way to import these shapefiles and be able to edit their appearance. Let's do a couple of others maybe. Going back here, let's look at the cultural side of things. I just want to illustrate that when you pull down the states and provinces, okay, and go to import that, vector import, shapefile. Go back up to my downloads. There are my states and provinces. Pull that shapefile in. In this case, each state is its own sort of polygonal area, so it's cropped that to our scene and found 6 polygonal shapes, and so, we can import them actually individually. You may not want to, you may want to. For here, it's offering a bunch of internal attributes to be the item that it's going to use to distinguish them. I'm going to use name, and when I say yes, what I end up with are these vector layers with the name. So there we go. I can zoom out and see that each one gets its own feature appearance, layer appearance. So if I edit Texas, it's this bright green fill. I could, for example, make all of these a dark green. Or even well, yeah, dark green, whatever. I think the issue there is that it is being shown as opaque, partially transparent. I'm going to make the opacity 1 and do that for all of these. Okay, so we can change the color, change the opacity, and begin to make all of our states look the same if we wish. Okay, don't have to, but notice again that our layer ordering is important here. If the lakes were down below, they would vanish. Okay, so keep this vector list in a meaningful order from top most visible down to bottom most hidden, if you will. All right. So I invite you to explore, and as you need, all of this wonderful GIS data, basically, and decorate your maps as you wish.